I'm Rich Andreski, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Along the Lines. I'm your guest host, Alicia Gonzalez. I'm a Transportation Planner 2 with the Connecticut Department of Transportation, and I am thrilled to be here with you to fill in for Rich Andreski and facilitate an informative and meaningful conversation. Summer is right around the corner. Those are words that many of us long to hear. When we think of summer, many think about backyard barbecues, the summer holidays, and enjoying more outdoor activities. We are fortunate in Connecticut that we have so many beautiful state parks to enjoy. On today's episode, we will talk about the ParkConnect program, which is a collaboration between the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. The program provides expanded public transportation fare-free to popular state parks in Connecticut all summer long. When some people think of public transportation in Connecticut, a common misperception is that it is used just for getting to and from works, shops, or medical appointments. But that is not always the case. Many of our neighbors already use our extensive public transportation network for recreational and leisure activities. Today, I'm honored to be speaking about ParkConnect with Mason Trumbull, Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and Tyler Roth, Transportation Planner 1 at the Connecticut Department of Transportation, Bureau of Public Transportation. Mason, Tyler, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Alicia. Great to be here. Thanks for covering this exciting project today.
Yes, thanks for having us, Alicia. I'm very appreciative to be able to have a chance to talk about the ParkConnect program today.
Absolutely. So, Mason, I'd like to start by asking, can you provide our listeners with a summary of the ParkConnect program and some background on how the program started?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Alicia, the ParkConnect program is a way to connect public transportation to our incredible network of state parks located all throughout Connecticut. And we really can't start talking about this program without rewinding to the early days of the pandemic when we saw an incredible spike in demand for outdoor recreation. And that increase in demand has continued since the pandemic as folks are more interested in enjoying the outdoor recreation opportunities across the state. I think, folks feel more comfortable being outdoors generally, so our state parks across the state have turned into venues for social connection. And then as the pandemic has tapered off, I think people have continued to appreciate their newfound love of the outdoors, and we have seen the demand for outdoor recreation stay high across the state. So again, rewinding back to 2020, we saw quite a bit of parks being closed, and just due to parking lots filling up. And so we decided to try to find a way to fix that. And obviously, connecting parks to public transportation is a way to alleviate the parking. But not only does it just solve the capacity problem at parks, it also touches on another important piece which we're trying to solve as well, which is the equity piece. Most of our state parks are designed to be accessed through cars and vehicles. And so the ParkConnect program allows folks who may not have access to a vehicle or who may prefer not to drive to be able to access public transportation and still be able to enjoy outdoor recreation.
And that's so interesting, Mason. You've touched on a couple of things. You've touched on, people's need for fresh air and to kind of be outside, especially in a pandemic, which was so confining, literally and physically. And, the capacity of parking lots, equity, ownership of a vehicle. How do these coincide with the intended goals of the program?
Yes. So very simply, the goals were derived from the need. So we had two goals in this program. The first one was focused on equity. And so, we were trying to find a way to allow anyone to get to a state park, whether they had access to a vehicle or not. And so the first one was making sure we have equitable access for all people to enjoy our state park system and be able to get that fresh air you were just talking about. And then, secondly, the goal was to alleviate some of the traffic congestion and capacity related issues that we were seeing in some of our more popular shoreline parks. So, again, connecting parks to cities and public transportation is really the overarching goal of the program. And we ran a pilot last year. We're glad to see some initial success and are looking forward to running it again this year.
So, speaking of the program last year, Tyler, we've seen traction in the program's first year. Can you let us know how many people took advantage of the program last year and why you think that it's meaningful?
That's a great question, Alicia. Before I touch on that topic, I'd like to just take a brief moment to describe the Park Connect program in greater detail and how it was designed for listeners who might be unaware of the Park Connect program. The Park Connect program is a seasonal program that was designed to advertise existing, new, or enhanced service to state parks from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day. State parks were initially identified by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and prioritized by analyzing their existing distance from our current bus transit network using geographic information systems called GIS. And then the feasibility of new or enhanced service to the state parks were determined by the service provider's vehicle availability, scheduling, and staffing capabilities. We then identified and prioritized free daily bus service 7 days a week to 5 state parks and saw around 2,800 passenger trips across the 10 advertised bus services to parks in the program's first pilot year. So the program really began to pick up traction probably sometime in early to mid-July of its pilot year, after we were able to show that we could reliably and safely get people outside to the parks during the summer, during the pandemic, while using new and enhanced bus service that was created for the first time as part of this pilot program. And as Mason had touched on, this was really important because we saw a lot of parks with beaches fill up early that year. I don't know about you, but every time I tried to go to Hammonasset Beach State Park, it would fill up early in the morning, even on weekdays. So these services provide an opportunity for people to find connections to get to the parks when the vehicle capacity has reached its limit in the parking lots there. And we expect a lot higher demand going into the second year of the program, since this program is now more widely known. We have a stronger marketing initiative this year, and I think that rising fuel prices and inflation will make the free bus service that we're providing to these parks a more attractive option.
That's great. And you're right. I did attempt to go to the beach and sometimes wasn't able to find a spot. And there is nothing more disappointing after you've put sunscreen on than not finding a spot at the beach. So it's very clear that a lot of thought went into this program, a lot of analysis and evaluation of data to try to identify the appropriate state parks and the transit services that can make these connections and enable people to take advantage of the beautiful parks that we do have in the state. So, can you talk a little bit more now about how the public, our listeners, how can they take advantage of Park Connect? And, when does it start? Which state parks are part of this program? And what changes are in store for this year?
Thanks, Alicia. I will do my best to try to inform everybody about this year's program. So riders will be able to take advertised bus service to the state parks in this year's program beginning May 28th, and they'll be able to use these services through September 5th. Services will operate on Mondays where Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Labor Day holidays are observed. Buses will be free statewide through December 1st of this year. So we've made some changes to this year's program from last year's program. We've scaled back the daily 7-day week service to focus mainly on weekend service where we saw the greater demand. So Bluff Point State Park is no longer part of the Park Connect program this year due to low demand, but we have added a few new state parks. We've added Osbornedale State Park and Indian Wells State Park in Valley Transit District service area, and Sherwood Island State Park in the Westport Transit District service area. So we've added 3 new state parks this year, and we've only removed 1 state park from the prior year's pilot program. Both of the new transit districts that are operating service for the 3 new state parks are operating on-demand service, which is a new form of service that the program is operating this year. Valley Transit District will allow riders to call in to schedule same-day ride reservations, while Westport Transit District will allow riders to download the Wheels to You app to schedule a ride.
Thanks, Tyler. That's fantastic. So there's a couple of things I want to just reiterate. Program lasts from May 28th to September 5th. And let's emphasize fare free. How exciting is that? Mason, for people new to the state or those who may not be familiar, what are some of the activities they can do at these parks? And can you just state each of the parks that are participating in this year's program?
Absolutely, Alicia. The whole point of this program is to allow people to get outside and have fun. And there are 7 very cool parks that you can take public transportation to and really enjoy an incredible day outdoors. I'm going to go through the list. So we have Hammonasset Beach State Park in Madison, Silver Sands State Park in Milford, Fort Trumbull State Park in New London, Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden, Osbornedale State Park in Derby, Indian Wells State Park in Shelton, and Sherwood Island State Park in Norwalk. So quite a list of 7 parks, and we chose those parks very strategically. First of all, 4 of them, Hammonasset, Silver Sands, Indian Well, and Sherwood Island, offer swimming, and we know that in the summer months, the ability to get out, cool off, whether it's in the ocean or one of our freshwater swimming areas, is incredibly popular for folks to experience, and one of the largest draws to our parks. We see our parks filling up on those days where the temperature soars over 80 degrees and higher, and so we wanted to focus on making sure that swimming was an option that we prioritized with these parks. What's also really cool is Hammonasset Beach State Park. That's our flagship park. It is the most popular park in Connecticut. And not only can you swim there, we actually have one of the largest campgrounds on the East Coast at Hammonasset Beach State Park. And so this is important from a tourism perspective as well, because you can hop on a train in New York City, take Metro North all the way up, and then connect from the train station to the park. And that provides the opportunity to go camping by train. So cool opportunity there for folks who maybe would like to spend a weekend away from the city, camping on the beach at Hammonasset. What a great way to spend the weekend. A couple other parks where we have some exciting outdoor activities as well are Fort Trumbull State Park and Osbornedale State Park, some opportunities to go fishing there. And Sleeping Giant State Park, definitely our most popular hiking park in the state. So really, we chose these parks to provide a variety of options for folks who are looking to get outdoors in a variety of different ways. And we think this program gives folks quite a few options depending on what they would like to do outdoors.
So hashtag camping by train. I think that is got to be a new slogan, and we're going to have to tell our marketing folks about that one. I really like that. You've talked about some of the benefits, Mason, that us as individuals and residents of Connecticut and more can enjoy at the state parks. What overall benefits do the state parks themselves see from the ParkConnect program?
That's a great question. Our park visitation right now is actually currently very diverse. We have a lot of different folks from all around the state, our cities, our rural areas, from out of state who come to Connecticut or who visit state parks in Connecticut. And so really the benefit to our state parks is this just provides that opportunity for more people. People who live in cities, people who depend on public transportation, now have an easier and better way to get to parks. And as we said before, this really does help us on those very busy weekends and holidays when our parks fill up. This allows more folks the opportunity to be able to get that prime spot on the beach in the sun.
Mason, you touched on something earlier that I think is really important. And Tyler, I'd like for you to elaborate a little bit more on how important the Park Connect program is, because it provides access to state parks to Connecticut's residents that do not own or maintain a personal vehicle. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Of course, and I'd be glad to. I'm sure that all of us on the podcast today agree that the state parks should be accessible for all Connecticut residents, regardless of whether or not they have access to or own their own vehicles. Basically, the inability to own a vehicle shouldn't preclude them from enjoying the many benefits and activities that Mason has described are available at each of these parks. And so the Park Connect program was designed to prioritize connections to existing bus routes, rail lines, and urban centers and other dense residential areas across the state so that we can get people to the state parks without having to have a car. There are many different ways to reach different state parks from all over the state. And many people spend hours visiting these parks on the weekends. So I believe they'll find the frequency of these services to be good enough for them to plan a trip on weekends while using the Park Connect service.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. No one should be precluded from enjoying the beauty that our state has to offer simply due to the status of owning or not owning a vehicle. That being said, I should note that even if you do have your own car, the Park Connect program can benefit you. Can you talk about that too?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, we're facing rising gas prices, inflation right now. So everybody's trying to, save a little bit of extra money. So, you know, Even if you have your own car, being able to ride public transportation for free throughout the summer while using the Park Connect program to get to the parks, you're going to be saving yourself money. In addition to that, there's also the climate change initiatives and benefits to taking your car off the road, improving air quality for your neighbors. And again, we can't advertise enough how important it is to have this fare free service. But there is the exception of some on-demand services like Wheels to You on weekdays that are premium services that will still be charging fares. But I want people to know that the service to the parks, if you can find any service that directly takes you to the parks for this year's program, you will be able to ride those services for free.
You touched on something, so let's pivot a little bit. Climate change, air quality, these are topics that we often explore on this podcast. Mason, can you tell us how this program helps fight climate change and reduces our carbon footprint?
Absolutely. That's something that we are very passionate about here at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. One of the benefits of this program is, as Tyler said, reducing emissions, improving air quality. In the summer months, there's higher ozone levels due to the increased sunlight and increased travel as many folks go on vacation, etc. So this Park Connect program provides a solution for both of those by giving folks the opportunity to travel and visit a state park without contributing to emissions. So, we're encouraging folks, whether you have a car or not, if you have access to, if you're in an area or near a park that is being serviced by the Park Connect program, we would encourage you to ride the bus or take the public transportation and reduce emissions. And, the cool part about that is, as Tyler mentioned, it is free to go to a park. Our Passport to the Parks program allows any car with a Connecticut license plate to access our parks for free. And so this program is providing that service as well for folks who are willing to ride public transportation. So we wanted to provide that incentive for folks to make sure that we're encouraging the reduction of emissions through the Park Connect program.
And Mason, while we still have you on, can you share some news about recent or planned statewide improvements to the state's park system?
Absolutely. I always love talking about making our parks better. So we do have some very recent good news. The budget was just finalized coming out of the legislative session, and the governor had put forward a strong proposal to support parks this year. Our park system, we have 142 state parks across the state of Connecticut. And parks are well loved. They are highly visited here in Connecticut, and so many of those buildings, whether they're bathrooms or infrastructure such as roads and paving and things of that nature, those are in disrepair. We have about $150 million of maintenance backlog across our state park system, and so in this year's budget, we have $50 million set aside to start to address that backlog. So that's encouraging news. Uh, Folks always ask, well, what are you going to build? And the answer is, well, we're going to fix a lot of things. And, we see this kind of maintenance backlog as something that, maybe we're not building the big new building, but we are going to be fixing, improving, replacing many very important buildings, bathrooms, repaving, investing in our historic infrastructure. Fort Trumbull's on this list. That's an expensive historic building that needs to constantly be repaired. And so, we're looking at investing some of this, or investing this $50 million in infrastructure across the state that will, at the end of the day, make the park experience much better and much more pleasant for the people who are visiting our parks.
That is really wonderful and really encouraging. Congratulations on that. To close, I have to say it's really refreshing to see such an important service as ParkConnect being brought to the public via a collaborative effort between two state agencies and our dedicated staff and our dedicated transit operators, lest we forget them. They're so important to the fabric of this program. I would like to just ask both of you, Mason and Tyler, what was it like working together on this, and what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm glad to go first on that one. You said it, Alicia, with collaboration. I think that's definitely been the overarching theme, is this spirit of working together for a common goal. And when we first met, we all talked about the goal of increasing equitable access to the outdoors for all people in Connecticut. And I think that's something that the team really gathered around and embraced that mission and worked together. These type of programs are not easy to set up. There's many different challenges, and I just have to say a huge thank you to both the staff at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and the staff at the Department of Transportation, who really worked together very well to set this program up, despite the many challenges. And so thank you, and we are looking forward to another round of ParkConnect this summer.
Thanks, Mason. I really appreciate the kind words and praise for our staff. I agree. This was a very collaborative process. I mean, both between DEEP and DOT, various external stakeholders. We have, about a half a dozen service providers that are involved in providing service across the state. And, like Mason said, we're really trying to prioritize the equitable access to these parks. And that's something I'm very proud of this program. I believe we did the groundwork to make sure that we were providing adequate service, that the new service that we planned was going to be adequate. I believe you actually said this to me the other day, Alicia, but we have about as many parks as we do towns that are being served through this program. And so we have a diverse array of parks with different activities to do all across the state, and there's many ways to get to them. You can ride rail and make a connection to, you could take Shoreline East and connect to the Clinton Trolley in downtown Clinton to get to Hammonasset, or you could park at the Park and Ride at Madison and take the Madison shuttle, or you can get on the 645 up in Middletown and ride down and get to the park at Hammonasset Beach State Park that way as well. And so, I'm really excited that we're able to do that, and also provide the opportunity for people to decide to switch away from using their own personal vehicles. I think being able to take these services when parks are at capacity, especially the more popular parks, is a huge benefit as well.
Thank you. Are there any final thoughts? And actually, where can people find out more information about this program?
I can answer that one. Alicia, final thoughts. We encourage anyone listening to this podcast to get out, visit a state park, and ride the bus or take public transportation to get there. And as far as how can you find out more about this, you can visit the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Easiest way website. The easiest way to access that is simply in your browser, search ParkConnect Connecticut, and that should pull up the first result in the search result should be the website you were looking for, and that will detail how to access the specific routes for each park. So thank you, and we hope to see you in the parks this summer.
Well, on behalf of DOT, we are thrilled to once again collaborate with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to offer the ParkConnect program for the summer of 2022. As you've heard, this program provides more access to the most popular state parks in Connecticut while benefiting our air quality and reducing harmful greenhouse gases. I invite everyone to use the service and enjoy a stress-free day at one of our state parks. I would like to thank our guests, Mason Trumbull from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and Tyler Roth from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, as well as everyone who was involved in bringing ParkConnect and this podcast to fruition. Remember, dear listener, you can always find previous episodes of Along the Lines on your favorite podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. You can also find previous episodes and more information on our new website, alongthelinesct.com. Until next time, support your state parks, ride transit, reduce emissions, and, oh yeah, wear sunscreen.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Rich Andreski. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.